If you've never been on a Mac before, the first time you get on can be a little bit confusing, so this orientation video is to help you get used to where things are on a Mac and how to get around in a Mac so that you can be more efficient in class. So what we're looking at here is the actual user interface of the Mac, and there are a couple of vocabulary words that you should get familiar with. This is a desktop just like we're used to seeing with something like Microsoft Windows. This down here is not called a taskbar like it's called in Microsoft Windows. It's actually called a dock. And the dock houses all of the programs that you use constantly. It's not all the programs on the machine, but it's just a quick and easy access to those programs. And we can modify this dock to take programs off that we don't use and to add programs on that we do use. Another thing you should be aware of is this bar up here is the menu bar. And this menu bar is contextual, meaning when you open a new program, it will no longer say Finder up here, it'll say the program name, and all the menus will change based on that program. So let's look at a couple of things we need to set up in our computer to make sure that it's efficient. First of all, if we go to the Apple menu, that's kind of the main control menu. It'll always show up no matter what program you have open. So if we go to the Apple menu, this is where we can put the computer to sleep, restart it, shut it down, and we can go to the system preferences here so we can change a little bit about our mouse. Let me explain to you how this mouse works. If I were to, for instance, go into the applications folder and I need to scroll, when I scroll up on my mouse, nothing happens. When I scroll down on my mouse, everything goes up. Now, you might think this is a natural way of doing things, but if this is not the way you like to have your mouse, if you want it to go down when you scroll down on your mouse, then we can change that. In addition, the Mac mouse doesn't automatically have a right click, but we can set it up to have one. So opening up System Preferences, we can click on the mouse icon, and this is the checkbox where it says Scroll Direction Natural. We'll uncheck that, and then it'll go back to what we're used to with a PC mouse. And then we can set different areas of our mouse to control different things. So the primary button is left click. This one, the right click, we can set that to say secondary click or secondary button, and it will change it so that I can right click on things now. In addition, there are two buttons on the side that you can squeeze, and you can have it open up whatever you want it to open up. And in addition, if you press on the scroll wheel, you can do the same thing. But for now, that's okay with me. And I like to do fast tracking, so I like my mouse to move fast when I'm moving across the screen. So you can set that up however you like. When you're done setting the mouse settings, you can either click Show All to come and change another setting, or click the red dot to close this window. One more setting I want to talk to you about is displays. If you have a hard time seeing your screen, you can come up to here and choose one of these display settings. Usually it's on best for display and it's very high resolution, but when it's high resolution, it can be a little small. So you can always choose the scaled option and then choose these 4 different settings so that it makes things lower resolution, but they do tend to get bigger and easier to see. So that again is up to you. So again, I can click Show All and I can change my screensaver, my desktop picture, whatever, but we're just going to leave it at that. So to close a window in Mac, you'll usually click the red button. Or if you want to minimize a window, you're going to click the yellow button with a minus sign in it. Now, this is different than a PC, which has all the buttons on the right-hand side of the window. Yours is on the left. This button that doesn't give me an option right here is usually green, and it'll let you expand it, but this window is as big as it's going to get, so you can't expand it. When you minimize it, it's going to animate down to the dock, and you can see a little icon for that particular window that you can click and expand it again. So I'll go ahead and close that window, and there we go. So let's talk a little bit about the dock. The dock has all of the different programs that you could possibly use on your machine or that you frequently use. If I don't use Mail, I can click and drag, oops, I did that a little bit too fast or too slow. So I can click and drag, and I can move it up, and you'll see this little cloud next to your mouse, and that means you can get rid of that icon. It's not deleting that program from your machine, it's just taking it off the dock. So you'll hear a little sound that says it went away, and there you go. So if I don't use notes, I can drag that off. If I don't use messages, drag that off, and there we go. Now I can make this dock bigger or smaller by going to this little dividing line and clicking and dragging up or down to make it bigger or smaller depending on what I like. In addition, I can go up to the Apple menu, go to Dock, and choose Position on the left, or I can go to Dock and Position on the right, or again, I like to have mine on the bottom, and I can also turn it off, turn hiding on, so it'll go away until your mouse comes over it, and then it'll pop back up again. Another feature, if I turn hiding off, I can turn magnification, and when I roll over, each of the icons gets a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. When your dock is really small, this is really helpful. So I'll go back because I don't like either of those options, and there we go. So let's talk about how we actually see things on our computer. If we go to Finder in the upper left-hand menu, click Preferences, we can choose what we see on the desktop. So we can see the hard disks, we can see external disks like flash drives. This is my flash drive here. If I had a CD or a DVD or an iPod connected, I would see an icon for it here. And I can choose connected servers. So this is my student drive. If you're a multimedia student, you might also see the multimedia drive, which is called MM. So now that I can see those things, I can get inside of my flash drive by double clicking, and this gives me a preview of kind of what a window looks like in Mac. So on a Mac, all of the frequently used favorite files are here. In addition, it has your connected devices and any shared network devices that you're probably not going to mess with. If I were to come in here, right now I'm looking at everything in an icon view. I can also look at it as a list, and that will allow me to toggle open and close different folders. I can look in columns, and that allows me to see the file path of getting from here to here to here. Or I can look in this type of view, which gives you a preview of, may it be a picture or a video or something of that nature. So if I go back to, let's say, this one and look at the preview, now I can see kind of an icon or a preview image of each of these video files and what they look like. In addition, when you want to create new folders, you can go to the gear and choose New Folder. And when you get into that new folder, you can type a new name such as Edited Video. If you need to rename something, you can right click and you can come to rename somewhere. Oh no. You click once and then it becomes editable again. So I can say video to edit. Right click will also give you the option to move it to a trash, get info to see how big this is, duplicate it, do all kinds of different options. So I can move that to trash, and it's going to throw it away in the trash can down here. So if you make a mistake, you can come to the trash, find it here, and drag it back to your folder. If you ever lose a file, you can use this search option here, or up in the menu bar, the spotlight search. So you can search for something called MVI 2790, or let's say English paper, or fall photo shoot photos. If you know any part of the name of that file, you can type it in here and it'll look through the entire hard drive and try to find that file. So let's talk about how to customize the dock. When you get into one of these windows, you can go to Applications, and it's going to show you all the programs on your machine. So just like on a PC, when you go to the Start menu and choose Programs, we go to the Applications folder, and here they live. So if I wanted to add Photoshop to the dock, I need to find the icon for that particular program. So this is the icon, and you can tell it's an icon when it doesn't look like a folder and when it doesn't have like an arrow, which is just a shortcut. So I can drag this icon down to my dock and have it live there. So if I wanted to do something such as Adobe Dreamweaver, I can drag that down and put it right next to the dock as well. Okay, a couple of other places we need to look at on your computer. First of all, if you need to find or get into certain files, if you're showing Finder, which you usually do if you click on your desktop, go to Go, and this will give you a chance to easily get to your Documents folder, your Downloads folder, so the things you downloaded from the internet will be there. Or I can again go back to the Applications folder there. Now when you have a couple of windows open, let's try Google Maps and Pages. There's something you need to know about what's happening. When Pages is my active program, you'll see Pages now in the upper left hand corner of the screen. All these menus relate to the Pages program. If I click on Maps, all of a sudden you see in the upper left hand corner in bold Maps, because now that is the active program and these menus relate to that program. If I click on the desktop, I'm going to go back to the regular Finder and all those menus relate to Finder. So even though this has a file menu and this has a file menu and Finder has a file menu, each of those menus has different options depending on which program you're in. So just be aware that you have to look at this upper hand corner to see which is your active program. In addition, on the dock, you can see a light underneath each of the programs that are open and currently active. So even if I come into Maps and click the red button, it may or may not totally close. See how the light is still on? To make it actually close, see how we see Maps up here? We would click on Maps and do Quit Maps. Or the keyboard shortcut as shown right here is the Command key, which is just next to the space bar on your keyboard, and Q. So I can either click Quit Maps or Command Q. Once that light goes away, that program is not active any longer. So I can come to Pages, go to the Pages menu, and click Quit Pages. Last but not least, we need to talk about how you save work on this computer. In general, it's not a good idea to save stuff to the desktop unless you need to do that because the file is so big that you need to be able to run it from the hard drive on the desktop than something like a flash drive. In general, where you want to keep your stuff is on a connected drive such as your student folder, which can be found right here just to the left of the trash can. So I can click on that folder and then open this little arrow that expands it into its own window. And this is a great folder for saving all of your work because if this computer crashes, you can move to any other computer, even a PC at MCC, and access all of your saved work. But this folder is only available to you on an MCC machine. If I close that, another good thing to do is keep your stuff on a flash drive that you can take with you between home and school and be able to work on things between both. That's the best recommendation. When you do use a flash drive, make sure when you're ready to disconnect it from the machine that you either shut the machine down first or you eject the flash drive. You can do it one of two ways. If you're in this type of a view or a window, we can go to the flash drive name here, click this little eject button, and it will eject the drive. Another thing you can do is Command E for eject on the keyboard, or right click on the flash drive on the desktop and do eject whatever the name of the flash drive is. So if I click that, it's going to eject, you no longer see it, and it's safe to remove your flash drive. Last but not least, you can control your volume from here. You can change the date and time, you can search for files, but that's the basic overview of using a Mac as compared to a PC.